Okay, welcome to a little mini review of systems of equations. I know you've done systems of equations last year in Algebra 1, but this is just kind of a quick review to get us started into honors geometry this year. Solve by substitution is the main method we use, whether it's in Algebra 1 or in Algebra 2 or in geometry. Mainly they want you to know this method, so it's the only one we're going to review. Solve by substitution, the first thing you need to do, Step 1, choose an equation to isolate a variable. So you get to choose x or y, it doesn't matter which one to get by itself. Then you substitute that expression into the other equation for that letter. So if you look at this over here on the right hand side, on the equation it had 2x minus y equals 12 and x minus y equals 3. They chose to get x by itself. Hang on one second. Real quickly. They chose to get the x by itself here. And so they added the plus y on each side, and then they went to substitute that into the other equation, which is step 2. They isolated a variable, they substituted it into the other expression. So here, where the x was, they've put in y plus 3 because x equals y plus 3. They did distributing, and then they solved for the letter and got the answer. Combine like terms, move, isolate the y, get it all by itself, so they get y equals 6. Okay? So step 3 was solve for the variable. So that was step 3. This was step 2. They substituted in step 1. They got a variable by itself. Substitution. Solve for the answer. Once you get an answer, it says we're going to put it back into one of the equations. They chose to put it back into where it says x equals y plus 3. They substituted in the y equals 6. So here it was x equals y plus 3. And they replaced the y with the number 6. With that being said, it doesn't matter which equation you want to substitute this answer y equals 6 into. No matter any of these problems at the top, if you put in y equals 6, it will always come out to the same answer they found, which was x equals 9. And in a systems of equations, it's where two linear equations are meeting on this case. So the answer is written as an ordered pair. And in all our ordered pairs, we write our answer as x comma y. We will probably stray a little bit from this in geometry to start with, because we might be solving systems, but we're not necessarily talking about ordered pairs. We're just talking about two possible answers. So this is more an algebra thing when we wrote it as an ordered pair. Next slide, now we're going to try one. Okay, I'm actually going to have you write on this one with us. Solve the systems of equation by substitution. So, with that, step 1 is to isolate a variable. Well, they already have y by itself. So, since y is by itself, we're going to substitute this whole thing in place of the y in the other equation. So it will look like this. Negative 2x minus 3, parenthesis, 6x minus 11 equals negative 7. So you copy everything down from that equation except for where the y is. You're substituting in what y equals. Now we'll distribute the negative 3. Remember to take that sign with that. So you get negative 2x minus 18x, and then plus 33 equals negative 7. Okay, then you'll combine your like terms. Some extra marks here. If we combine our like terms, negative 2x minus 18x is negative 20x We'll move the 33 to the other side by subtracting it to the other side. So we have negative 20x equals negative 40 divided by negative 20. X equals 2. Okay, that was step 3. We solved it. Now step 4, we're going to substitute that back in, and we can substitute it in any of the equations that were provided. I'm going to use the y equals question, so I'm going to do y equals 6 times 2 minus 11. So that gives me 12 minus 11, so y equals 1. If we were going to write this as our ordered pair, our answer would be 2, 1 for x, y. All right, let's try the next one. Sometimes they're not always given to you as just y equals or x equals. So this one, you have to decide which one do you want to solve for. If it's possible, I try to solve for one that will give me no decimals or fractions. It's not always possible, but in this case, this bottom y has no number with it. So it looks the easiest to get by itself. So I'm going to add the 5x to the other side to isolate that variable. So I have y equals 5x plus 19. Now I'm ready to do substitution. I'm going to take this whole thing and substitute it in place of the y in that equation. So I'll have negative 3x minus 8, and then in parentheses I will put 5x plus 19, substituting in place of the y because I had y equals. You can go ahead and distribute and solve for x. So negative 8 times 5 gives us negative 40x. Negative 8 times 19 isn't one I know off the top of my head, so I'm going to use my calculator. And I get negative 152. Okay, then I would combine like terms, so this gives me negative 43x. Add the 152 to the other side. Go across the line, remember to change that sign. So negative 43x equals 172. Divide both sides by negative 43. Okay, again, numbers I don't really know off the top of my head, so let's try it. And I get the answer is negative 4. Okay, now we can go back to any of the original equations, or we can use the one that I have highlighted here. So y equals 5 times negative 4 plus 19. So that gives me y equals negative 20 plus 19. So y equals negative 1. So if I was going to write my ordered pair for like an ordered pair point, I would say negative 4, negative 1 would be the ordered pair. All right. On this slide, you'll notice no variable is by itself. The x isn't by itself, the y isn't by itself, so we have to decide what would make the most sense. If I get x by itself, we'll end up dividing them all by a negative 2. If I try and get y by itself, I would divide all those numbers by 6. Well, that works fine with the 6 on the right-hand side, but 2 divided by 6 gives me 1/3. So that's a fraction, and I know most of you guys probably don't want to deal with fractions. Same thing on the bottom equation here. If I divide them all by negative 7 to get x by itself, we come out to some nasty fractions. So I think the one I'm going to choose is this x up here. So to get that x by itself, I'm going to move the 6y to the other side. So my equation would look like negative 2x would equal negative 6y plus 6, but I still have to get rid of that negative 2, so I'm going to divide everything by negative 2. So x equals negative 6 divided by negative 2 is a positive 3y. 6 divided by negative 2 is a negative 3. So now we're going to take this whole thing and put it in place of x in the other equation, because in this case I have x equals, so I need to put it in place of the x over here. Oops. So, I'll show substitution here. We have negative 7, parenthesis, 3y minus 3, plus 8y equals negative 5. So we substituted in place of x because we had an x equal problem instead of a y equals. Do our distributive property. And get negative, oops, sorry about that. Get negative 21y plus 21 Hopefully you guys realized why I changed that to a plus sign, because a negative times negative makes positive there. We'll go ahead and combine our like terms. Let's see if we combine our like terms. Negative 21 plus 8 would give me negative 13y. Subtract the 21 to the other side, so you get negative 13y equals negative 26. Divide both sides by negative 13. Get y equals 2. Well, that worked out nicely. Now we have to substitute it back in something. I'm going to use this x equals problem. X equals 3 times 2 minus 3. Well, 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 minus 3 is 3. So 3, 2 was my final answer. All right, now you guys are going to have an opportunity to try one on your own. You can get x by itself, you can get y by itself. Go ahead and take a few minutes. You can pause the video. I want you to attempt this on your own, and then when you're done, I want you to check it. So pause your video, work it out, and try it. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you had a chance to check it. I'm just going to put the answer here, so if you didn't get it, maybe you can work backwards to try and figure out where your mistake was. So, your turn. If you tried this one, I solved for x. I got x by itself on the top one. I thought that looked the easiest, but you could choose to get the y by itself because all of these can be divided by 3 on the bottom. So any of those would work. My final answer I got for this one was x equals 7 and y equals negative 2. So if that is what you got, you were correct.